Hi, everybody. Rob had to restart his computer, and then the stream crashed, so I started a new one. The other guys are still. I have to give them the new link. And meanwhile, I don't know what. Wait a minute here. Yes, let's see if they are coming. What should I talk about in the meanwhile? We can talk about the Qur'an. Is that what we should talk about? The oral tradition of the Qur'an. Yippee, we back, baby. Back. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, Stops and Rob and Mr. the Muslim fellow will join us as well. Yeah, so the Quran. I didn't really hear what Stop Spamming was talking about, but what should we say? According to the Muslim tradition, the Quran was sent down in small pieces during several years to the Prophet Muhammad, and then the Prophet Muhammad recited it, and some Sahaba wrote it down. But they wrote it down in small pieces, and it wasn't compiled into one big book in the lifetime of the Prophet, but was in small pieces. And then later the Sahaba made a coherent book out of it. But that is like the Abbas microphone sounds better every time. I don't know if I agree with that. Anyway, so the Quran, that's like the standard version of what happened. And then you also have the oral tradition that like children learn and memorize the Quran, which they are still doing to this day. But then you also have the different qira'ats that have small differences. Maybe I can find an article about that while I'm waiting. Oodly-doo. Okay, so here we have from Islam Q&A. The revelation of the Quran in 7 styles, ahruf, single harf. I have read that during the third Caliph Uthman, a committee under supervision of Zayd ibn Thabit has been ordered to make an official editorship of the whole Quran. Wait a minute, before I do that, I just want to send the link one more time to the fellows in the Skype. Now, finally.
Hey.
Hi. Is it Robbie?
Yeah. What happened there? Did everybody jump out?
No, everything crashed because I wasn't logged in as Caliph. So then I started a new one.
Oh, they started a second one.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I was just lagging so badly, nothing would work. I'm trying everything. I'm trying different browsers. Nothing will work here.
That was the stupid thing. I don't know why I was too lazy.
Okay, let's just give this link to people.
Yeah, give them the link. I don't know. I continue just reading this. too. Because early Arabic language didn't have vowels, and also some consonants had the same or almost the same form, new signs were introduced to the separate
Can you also,
the different.
sorry,
Yes?
can you give us the link for the stream as well?
Yeah, I sent you in Skype. Or
Yeah,
is that enough?
not that link.
Okay. The link to the.
There we go.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I've got it elsewhere. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said that the word harf be put equivalent to qira'a. He declared 7 ways of reading correct, because according to him, the saying of the Prophet ﷺ that the Quran was sent in 7 ahruf meant that the 7 ways of reading are inspired. Nowadays, only 2 ways of reading are in use: Warsh of Nafi and Hafs of Asim. Could you tell me more about these different ways of reading? Are there a hadith about it? Firstly, praise be to Allah. Should
All right. Are we
How are you doing? Well,
Oh, we're
we're
back.
back.
We're back in the room.
Oh,
Okay.
but this time Rob is here. I don't know how you did this, but that's brilliant.
Yeah, mine was lagging there, so I tried to restart.
Yeah, but the problem is if you leave, the whole thing goes down.
It shouldn't. It should stay up. I've left before and come back and just jump
You
back
can
in.
leave for a while, but not too long, I think. And it's also if I had been logged in as the Jinn&Tonic show, maybe it.
Doesn't matter. We're all back here now.
We're
Sorry.
all back.
You're going to go back live then?
Yeah, we are live, I think.
Rob,
Are we not?
can you hear
I
me? Guys?
think so.
Yes, we are live. Yes, I can hear
Yes.
you, Mohammed. Sorry, you
Rob,
are dropping
we
out
can-
a little bit. You are dropping
We
a little
can
bit.
hear each other, but are we live for everyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
No, there's somebody missing because Muhammad isn't there. Steve is there.
Mohammed is there. Look again. He's got
Abu's
the,
not there.
yes,
No.
Abu's the second
I'm
Jinn and
here.
Tonic.
I'm started the show.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the stream.
We're all on the stream.
We're all on the stream.
Okay, then I'm the only one who can't see it.
But Isa is in the heavens.
Okay, good.
I can't see us live on YouTube.
Rob,
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Rob,
Yes,
can
I
I
can
just
hear you.
can I just explain my position quickly? I want you to listen to it in person. You know.
Again.
But it was only
Rob?
us hearing it, wasn't it?
Sorry, I can hear you now. Yes, I'm getting
Yes,
distracted
yes.
here. Yeah.
I just want to clarify that you know the intuitive and the creation is not when God is not the creation out of nothing. You know, this is a distraction. The true meaning of creation is creation of one thing out of another, in the sense that one thing perishes and another thing begins to exist.
Okay, but the question, Mohammed, is the material from which these things perish and a new one starts. Is it all the same atoms?
Huh? Can you please say it again, please? Sorry.
So when a person dies, let's say, and they are cremated
Yes.
and it becomes ash, those atoms then at some point become something else, correct? Be it another human or a tree or whatever, correct? So everything that's happening, it's the same atoms just being reused and reformulated in different ways.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying that there are atoms and they're simply rearranging. Isn't that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Yes. Well, this I read about you know what the Muslim scholars, how they responded to this rearrangement theory. Let's say that limiting
It's not a
things
theory,
only limiting things rearrangement. This is what Ibn Taymiyyah rejected. He rejected that things are literally that things are only rearranged. This is what he rejected. You know, and he defended that things.
Okay, but how long ago did he live?
Huh?
How long ago did he live? How long ago did
How long?
Ibn Taymiyyah live? Ibn Taymiyyah.
No, it's he lived
How long ago? When did he live?
7 centuries ago, but he brought forth a rational argument. He didn't bring forth a scientific argument.
Yeah, but he didn't know about atoms, right? So his
No,
argument was not based on the fact that everything is made of atoms.
But he did believe that things are composed. You know, he believed that there were fundamental particles. Let's say.
But Mohammed, are you saying that he said we are not made of recycled elements from other entities?
No, he said that those recycling, those rearranging entities, they themselves are subject to change.
What does that
No,
mean?
this is
It
gibberish.
means that
Well,
What does that mean? Can you explain that, Mohammed?
Rob, if you have the only if you wish to limit things to rearrangement, then you have only two options. If you wish to limit change to rearrangement, you have only two options. The first is to point out fundamental particles which are eternal,
Like
unchanging.
what? Like what?
There aren't any. And the second,
What is he talking about if they don't exist?
to limit change in things,
are you?
to limit the change in things to rearrangement requires that you establish that there are eternal fundamental particles, you see, which are constantly rearranging, and that those
Why?
particles themselves do not change.
Why does it? Why did they have to? Why did they have to be eternal?
Nothing here is eternal, but
Why do the particles have to be eternal?
Because if they were not eternal, then that means that the sum of those particles is not eternal.
Can I ask you, who are you talking about?
Okay,
Are you talking about
let's.
who is saying this thing? Or is it Ibn Taymiyyah?
Are we discussing Ibn Taymiyyah now?
No, I don't know.
No, we're just
You were,
discussing rational arguments.
yeah, but who is saying that there is particles or atoms? Like, who are you talking about?
I'm speaking about irrational. See, why change in things is not limited to rearrangement. Change in things, that things may rearrange, composite things may rearrange, and may also totally change.
Okay, but how does that get us to your God?
Because if they're not eternal, then there must be they're originated.
Okay, how does that get us to your God?
If you are not eternal, then how can you explain anything without an eternal being?
I can say I don't know.
Can I ask? I'm so frustrated.
Well,
who are you? Who is saying these things? Is it you're saying that he said that, and how? Who are you talking about?
I'm speaking about a rational argument put forth, understood by the early pious predecessors of Islam, the Salaf, because they believed that things are created, literally created out of other things.
All the time, continually.
Guys,
yes,
talking about what the people believed 1,000 years ago is not going to help us. What we need to understand is why Muhammad believes this today.
Stop. Just let this aside.
One thing at a time. Hang on. One thing at a time. Everybody's speaking. Mohammed, hang on 1 second. Everybody's speaking here. We're asking all different questions. Let me just get back because I missed out. So apologies, I missed out because I lagged and I dropped out. The first question you asked was, have we ever observed an act of creation? And what we need to define is, what do you mean by creation? And I think you're trying to define creation in a different way than either any of us understand the word creation, or that most religious people understand the word creation. When I speak to a religious person, they say creation is the creation when the universe came into existence. The other things are not created in the sense that most people understand. It's just a rearrangement of atoms, which the laws of physics are quite, we understand the laws of physics quite well, and we can explain creation within this universe of anything.
Yes, I totally understand your point.
You're lagging out there. I can't hear you, Mohammed.
Rob, just let me make this point, because when you speak with a person who lives in the desert, or he lives in on a farm or something, Are you there, Rob?
Mohammed, you are lagging very badly. I can't hear you there. Can you restart your computer or something? Because I'm battling to hear you, and some of your sentences are being missed. So I'm not being able to have a proper conversation because I can't hear you. It's like your internet connection keeps breaking up. I don't know if you can restart the computer and just re-log in again, because I'm battling to follow what you are saying.
So, okay, just give me a second. I'll try to change the location. 1 second.
Okay.
That could also be, yeah.
Yeah. Am I being heard okay at the moment? Because obviously I was lagging.
Yes.
Am I clear now?
Yes.
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was a battle there. Okay, so
Yeah,
while
Mohammed
Mohammed is
kept on
moving there,
cutting out.
yeah, he keeps cutting out every now and again. Okay, so if I summarize his position as I understand it, you guys had a conversation while I was away. He's wanting to say that creation is anything that we see come into existence in the natural world. Is that what he's claiming is what he's calling creation?
It's difficult to understand what he's saying.
So where there was no tree,
Yeah, it is everything.
so where there was no tree, suddenly, so teleological creation within this universe, which we would all say on this panel, apart from Muhammad, is teleonomic creation, which is the laws of physics acting on particles in a certain way with a certain configuration brings things, new things into existence in inverted commas, but from pre-existing quarks, atoms, whatever the case is. I mean, you can call that creation, but that's different or potentially different from what might have happened at the origin of the universe. So if you want to call that creation, you can call it creation, but as we've seen, there's two different versions, teleological and teleonomic. I think everything in the universe is teleonomically designed or created. Muhammad thinks they're teleological. He needs to demonstrate that because the laws of physics we understand and we can test and we can replicate and we can show that a seed becoming a tree, we can replicate that every time, and the laws of physics will show us that that doesn't require a creator. And if you're claiming that it does, you need to demonstrate that. Are you back with us, Mohammed?
I think.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back with you. Yes, Rob. I believe, I don't know if you heard this, I believe that there are natural causes.
So do you believe in the laws of physics and so forth, that they govern the universe?
I believe that the laws of physics are judgments of how bodies and interact and move, for example.
And all physical matter, right? So quantum mechanics or general relativity or the laws of physics, whichever label you want to give it, those laws, those things that are happening in the universe are natural things, and they govern the motion and the energy of the entire universe. Would you agree?
They don't govern in this strict sense, as we speak, like something. They're not. They're mental constructs, but they're judgments of how things move and interact.
They're not just mental constructs. We can observe things. Yeah, but they're not just mental constructs. Yes. They are labels that we've given. That's true. But these are laws that we can observe in real time. Things happen. Are you claiming? Go ahead.
I'm claiming that all what exists around us are objects and attributes of objects.
Okay, how does that get us to your God?
That's okay, but hang on, Clement, stop. We're a long way from the God thing.
Can you hear me?
I want to understand from you though, Mohammed. Yes, I can hear you. You appear to be lagging a little bit. There's a delay from when we finish speaking and you start. But I want to understand, do you think that God interacts in some way? So when a tree...
Like there are tangible objects around us. Objects have property. And the way those things interact, we judge the way they interact. And we come up with those laws of physics. We call them the laws of physics.
Yeah.
And
Where does God fit in?
God is the creator of natural causes and their effects. And it is
that's
he
an
who
assertion.
allows.
Okay, how do you okay,
How do
I
I know
understand that. I understand that's your view. How do you demonstrate that's true? Because I've got the similar view to you, which is that these laws and constructs are what create everything around us, and I'm just using Occam's razor and deleting God because it doesn't appear that God is necessary for anything in the natural world. So can you demonstrate that it is the case?
Yes, Rob, yes. What do you mean by creation?
That's not
full
demonstration.
circle
Like we
now.
said before, as we've said before, though, Mohammed, and I've said it, teleonomic creation is the term. Look that up. Teleonomic is the creation of everything in this universe through natural mechanisms, through the laws of physics, quantum mechanics, general relativity, whichever laws you want to engage. These natural laws bring into existence, i.e., reformulate existing matter into different elements. Let's call it.
Yes. So
And
you're
that's
claiming
teleonomic
rearrangement.
design.
That is the
creation.
point. You're claiming rearrangement of things by those natural laws.
Correct.
Yes. Well, the way I see it, and the way every person who looks intuitively into the world and rationally into the world, he looks at things coming into existence out of other things and perishing into other things. You see?
What do you mean?
That's my claim.
Yep, and we can account for all of that through natural causes, natural mechanisms.
Yes, natural mechanisms are not responsible for this creation because
Okay, but that's
those
something you need
natural
to
causes are
demonstrate, though.
themselves created. Well, those
Okay,
natural causes.
that assertion you need to demonstrate is
than
true.
something.
We've been doing that for 2,000 years. Nobody's been able to do that, but see if you can give it a go yourself. How do you demonstrate that those natural causes are created?
But did you that
Can't hear
things
you now.
literally come into existence out of other things? Do you understand the rearrangement do you understand? Would you use a god?
Cracking up, Mohammed.
I think you have to change. Can I ask you where are you using VPN? Maybe.
Yes, I am using VPN.
Okay. I think
Mohammed, we're having a battle here to hear you. Keep cutting out. Are you able to not use VPN, or do you want to try calling on your mobile or something?
No,
Because
so I
we're
don't
really
think a
battling
VPN
to
is
have a
mobile.
conversation, and there's a long delay.
The
Your
problem is I don't
connection
have
is not
credits,
good,
you see.
Mohammed, so we're battling to have a flowing conversation here.
Well, I'm hearing you perfectly.
yeah,
You got
you
another
are,
way?
yes, but we
You're not. You're cutting out continually.
We
don't know
can't
what's
hear
going
you,
on.
so we hear one sentence, and then there's a gap. Then we hear something else, and so it's like it sounds like it's stuttered to us. Like there, you just went silent now for that 3-5 seconds there.
Okay, just can you give me 2 minutes? If the problem persists, I will close on the line, and that will be it.
Now everything is clear again.
Okay, we'll see how long it lasts there.
How should I call
not.
you on this? Can I call you?
Well, you need to sort out your connection your end.
Yes. Try to sort out your connection. Maybe change your location. If you're comfortable, we won't give you away or anything. So if you're comfortable doing it without VPN, I think.
No, this is not VPN. I think this is a mistake. VPN. I think he's talking about LTE.
No, because his VPN is slowing it down, I think.
I don't think he's using VPN.
I am using VPN, I said.
You are using VPN.
Can I ask you which distributor or what?
Doesn't matter, Abu.
No, because the point is, try to fix it. because now it's impossible.
We can't do a live tech call now. I think you have to drop the VPN and call in without the VPN, if you can, or use your mobile phone or something. But it's a battle at the moment. We can't really do a tech call now. I want to speak to you, but we need to be able to hear you clearly. Although you're hearing us, we are not hearing you clearly. Can you restart it without VPN at all, Mohammed?
I'll try. 1 second.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is like, since we're seeing everything having a cause, one thing leads to another, he would say that the original cause of the creation must be God. The problem with that is that kind of.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Speak. Yeah, I can speak. Let's see what happens when you start speaking for a little while.
Okay.
Okay, so you understand my position. Go ahead.
Yes, I know that you reject literal beginnings of things, and that you claim that things only rearrange into new forms.
That's as far as we can tell in this universe. Yeah.
Yes. What I am saying is that things are literally come into existence, and God is the one who is bringing those things into existence. You see?
Okay.
And how do I know that? I know that through observation. I know that through observing change in things, on a simple level. But on let's say on a deep rational level, there is an argument that was put forth by Ibn Taymiyyah, which actually goes far back before Ibn Taymiyyah. And this argument shows that rearrangement within things is not, that change within things is not only rearrangement, that things also totally change.
Okay, but we've heard this several times.
Okay,
now.
but
The point
so
is not convincing. This does not work. This does not give us anything. It only gives us the opinion of a Tamir who has an opinion about something about creation, but you cannot demonstrate this.
A rational argument.
No, it's theoretical. It's theoretical. I need something tangible. And
it is in line with observation.
Okay, well, I need to know what it is that you are talking about. By telling me, yeah, but Tamir said something about creation and about matter changing, and this is not changing, but it's creation, and therefore God exists, doesn't help. What we need to understand, what you are talking about, is a very good reason, a rational, logical sequence where you can say, this is, Mohammed, let me just finish, where this will not happen without the interference of a creator. We have this that we can observe, which is absolutely impossible without a creator. Then we can talk about this.
Well, the way people observe, what we observe around us literally begins to exist. And the reason for that...
No, nothing begins to exist. Nothing begins to exist.
Okay, well, let me just say, why do you claim that? Why do you claim that?
Because there is nothing that begins to exist. You can't demonstrate anything that begins to exist.
Which is eternal, changing. Well, how do you prove that, your position?
I have asked you to tell me when exactly an iPhone begins to exist, and you are not able to tell me. So why can't you, if I ask you, demonstrate it or not? I do not know of anything beginning to exist, and neither do you.
Okay, when a chair when a carpenter makes a chair, you see, the chair, the form of the chair begins to exist after the carpenter makes it, but the material of the chair goes back to the tree. You see, so you cannot just speak of things coming into existence. You have to make your statement clear.
The begin is a temporal component. So you have to be able to specify when exactly it begins to exist and what it was half a millisecond before.
True.
But I mean
True, stop.
that kind of begins to exist is kind of like subjective, because like you're having a piece of wood, and the piece of wood comes from other atoms and so on. I mean, that's kind of
When a carpenter makes a chair, he does not create, you see, the chair. He rearranges the chair. Yes, we believe that God is the author of everything.
You are
Within-
telling us what is not beginning to exist. Can you tell us now something that does begin to exist and when it does so?
Yes. Let's take
Go on,
the
then.
example of water. Example of water.
Of what?
water.
Water.
Yes. Do you claim that the sea is made of a finite or an infinite number of water molecules?
It doesn't have anything to do with finite or infinite. This is just atoms.
Yes, it's finite.
Yes, it is finite.
A finite number. That is correct. Okay,
Do you
so we
agree with
can
that?
divide the sea. Of course, I agree with that.
You've gone again.
Okay, it's finite. And now it doesn't matter whether it's finite or infinite. Now what?
Has he gone?
Mohammed, are you there?
Oh, this is too
Yes, I'm
painful.
there.
We keep losing
Okay.
this.
I'm not using the VPN now. I
Okay,
just-
now what?
Yes. So the sea, you can break it down or separate its components apart. Can't you do that?
Yes, hydrogen
Yes,
and
and now?
oxygen.
No, the molecules themselves. Can't you just make them? Can't you separate the sea into its components of water?
Yes, you can. And now?
You have hydrogen.
Okay. Yes. Now you take that smallest component of water. What happens to it when you try to overcome it and basically separate it?
It's
or divide
H2O.
it?
You have 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. What are you talking about?
Okay.
And then what?
It's up to you. You take that hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom. What happens when you try to separate those hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms? What happens when you try to separate
Then you get
those?
into subatomic particles. And now?
No, you can
What
you can
happens-
separate the hydrogens and the
You get hydrogen and you get oxygen.
yeah. You get 2 hydrogen
Okay.
and oxygen.
Okay. What happens when you come to those subatomic particles and you
What do you
try
mean,
to
what
separate those? What will happen when you try to overcome those?
Overcome?
Overcome. What is overcome?
By any natural process.
What do you mean overcome by that word?
You have subatomic particles. They make up atoms. Atoms make up molecules. Molecules make up whatever you want them to make. Now, where does that get me to your God?
I think
Maybe you can say you get quarks and electrons, like ultimately.
Yes, you get quarks, whatever. Do you claim that those particles are composed ad infinitum?
I'm
does
not
that
making any
sentence
claim.
mean?
You are.
Actually, we don't really know.
I believe that they cannot possibly be composed ad infinitum.
Well, actually,
What
we don't
is
know.
ad
Like
infinitum?
one of the popular theories is that they're ultimately is made out of tiny strings of energy.
But now you're going into no. Wait. Let him finish his line of thinking.
Yeah. But if that is the case, let's suppose that
no,
is the
that's
case.
not the case. Come on, don't make it complicated.
No, it's not complicated. But that means that there is a smallest level, so to speak.
Okay, where are you going when you are past the subatomic particles? What happens then?
Well, what happens to those subatomic particles when you overcome them?
I don't know.
What do you mean by
Are they
overcome?
eternal or do they change?
I don't know.
They change constantly.
Well,
Tell us, Mohammed. Tell us, Mohammed.
they change into something else.
Into what?
No, you can't. No, a neutrino does not change into something else. A neutrino is a neutrino.
Nothing which is not. You see, there is nothing which does not change. Nothing is eternal here.
Except God.
Of course, because he's the reason that those things change. It's not funny, man.
Finally, now we come to the things. Okay, we understand.
Mohammed,
your
what,
argument.
this is absolute nonsense what you're saying. You are just
Oh,
saying,
nonsense.
I don't, you know what your argument is? I am stupid, therefore God.
No.
No, it's not
Look.
stupid.
The reason you're saying that God was before everything in this creation, and then you say because we have this creation and we can see that everything is changing and everything must have a first cause, therefore God. The problem is if you're making that argument, then you have to go one step further and say, okay, but who created God? Or what created
Okay,
God?
so this comes down to the second point which I wanted to speak about, which is the
Oh
infinite
no,
ego.
we only got through the first point so far. It's gonna be a long night.
The second point is hilarious.
The second
How do
point
you
is
know?
that
Sorry, go on, Mo.
is Rob there?
I think he's sleeping. I think I
Yes,
heard
I'm
him
here.
just snore.
I'm letting everybody else speak because we've got too many people trying to speak here, so it's becoming difficult. So I'm just listening.
Yes, okay.
Go ahead.
The second point I wish to make is that if the reason we speak of God, the reason we explain things by God is because things are with beginning. Things within the universe are with the beginning, and that is why we explain them with God, by God. You see?
Okay,
I
but
didn't
how do you
follow
know?
that
How do you know that? Where did God come from? How do you know that God doesn't have a beginning?
Yes,
In
I'm
that
answering
case,
this.
what caused
The
God?
reason we explain things by a God, a creator, is because they are created. And so if you make the creator just another creation, you haven't explained anything. He will just be another part of that creation.
Okay, done. What's your third point?
Okay, but
Okay,
look,
Rob,
that is just
point-
that's just an easy way. You can just say the same thing about like something. You don't have to be. Why turn it into a god? Why turn it into a personal god? You can just say causes or something without a prior cause caused this universe to exist, and now we have it. Why complicate it and turn it to a personal god?
Well, God is a person we believe because he is more perfect than his creatures are, because he is their creator. You see,
Can you be more perfect?
you cannot possibly be more perfect than your creator.
Can
But
anything
look,
be more perfect?
seriously, do you really think that logically follows from it? I mean, I can understand that that's what your theology tells you.
How can you if God brings you into existence, how can you be more perfect than the one who brings you
The
into
most
existence?
sloppy carpenter, the most sloppy painter, the most sloppy anything can produce a work of absolute, utter beauty and perfection.
But he cannot create it. He cannot bring it into existence.
Mohammed, this is not the point.
Yes, that is
Whatever
the point.
claim you are making,
No.
we are refuting. Okay, it
just
doesn't matter what do you have a third point? Really serious, because the first one doesn't gel, the second one is ridiculous, and the third one.
Maybe
Well, you know, I don't.
doesn't work in threes.
Yes.
Everything
I
needs
don't
method.
think that these points are ridiculous. I believe that your points are actually far more ridiculous. If they would be far more ridiculous if mine was ridiculous.
Okay, can you give me the opportunity to try to talk him through this? The first
okay.
point, what was that again?
The first point
Yes.
about God being more perfect than his creatures.
No. The first point. We're talking about 2 points. Let us stay with them for a while. Like,
Okay.
what was the first point? Was it that because we have creation here and we see that everything is caused, there has to be a prime mover, so to speak.
No.
A creator, one who brings things into existence.
Okay, a creator that brings it into existence. Okay, fine. But look, why do it might be the case that or actually this is a long story, but let's say that this is true, that everything that exists in this universe now that we see, that it had a start. It didn't exist and then it existed. But how do we get from there to that Allah created these things?
Because well, if you look at things beginning to exist, how can you explain them without anything that is eternal and brings them into existence? That is like saying an effect has no cause.
But why does the cause have to be Allah? Why specifically Allah?
It has to be created, an eternal being. That's the point I'm making.
But why Allah?
But why an eternal being? Why not an eternal?
Allah is God.
Why not an eternal physical law that no one brought this physical law into existence, but this physical law brings universes into existence?
Okay, because physical laws are I believe there are mental constructs. There are judgments, our judgments of how things move. So they're dependent on our.
So you don't think Allah is a mental construct?
No, Allah is a being.
Okay, but look, how can you get from this universe began to exist and therefore Allah, and not like some other prior cause?
Vishnu, energy,
energy, and or something that turned
energy. Well, you see, when you say a creator, if you speak like a creator, it's enough to believe that there is one creator. That's my point, you see.
Yes, we understand that. But the thing is, how do you get from the point the universe began to exist and then therefore Allah, and not why Allah and not some other cause? Some other cause that doesn't necessarily have to be caused in itself.
Like, for example, can you give me an example? I don't really understand what the point is.
For example, say that some other physical law that was not created by anything, it just existed and it has existed eternally. And then
I just
some
physical laws.
Forget about
physical laws.
Okay, we don't have to call it physical law. We can call it some other thing. What should we call it? Just some kind of existence, some kind of I don't know what word we should use. We can call it some kind of gugu-bugu that existed, that was not caused in itself, but gugu-bugu causes universes to exist.
What's your point? I don't understand anything.
My point is that how do you get from this universe starting to exist and therefore Allah? I don't see that connection.
Okay, what the question you should ask is, what do I believe? Who do I believe Allah is?
No.
And
what I want to understand, you see, this universe began to exist, therefore Allah. How do you get this connection?
A creator must exist because temporal origination. We observe temporal origination around us. This is my point.
No, it's
but when you come to the nature,
yes, but why do you need Allah to cause that to start to exist? Why not something else?
Well, that something else would be Allah. Like, what are you like?
No, because how do you know that something has to be a personal God?
Yes, so that's the question. How do you know that God is personal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why does he
have knowledge? Why does he have power?
Yeah. Someone says it. Why not Odin? Yeah. My
Okay.
Scandinavia-centric brain wants to make it Odin.
There are reasons we believe in God's attributes, we call them, like his qualities. There are rational reasons for those.
No.
But not all of those are rational. Some of those are scriptural. Okay.
Okay, let's say that there are rational reasons. The thing is, I know about these things, so I read.
Yes, the rational reasons.
Look, I read Ibn Taymiyyah and I read its Asma wa Sifat and those things. But the thing is, that's another issue. Okay, how do we know that because we have temporal things that has to have had a first beginning? Why does that lead you to Allah with all his attributes and everything? Why not something else? Why not something more simple?
What's exactly like a non-personal God? That's
Yes,
what you're saying.
a non-personal God, a gugu bugu,
Okay.
or a physical or a non-caused physical law that's or something very
Olumbo, Olumbo, Obu.
Olumbo, Olumbo, Obu, for example.
If God creates, if we know that we have willing beings as opposed to non-willing beings, and we have knowledgeable beings as opposed to ignorant beings, and we have powerful beings as opposed to powerless beings, we can easily conclude that God will be far more perfect than those creatures.
No.
The better
These
of those
powerful things. These are emergent properties. First, they didn't exist. Like the reason why we get power and things like that is we have these atoms that, and some atoms are like combined in certain ways that we can do. Some are more intelligent than others, and some can do certain things. But that doesn't lead you to this God thing. You still haven't solved the problem. Why does something temporary and our temporary universe that why does that lead you to God? Don't go into the thing about like God must be more perfect than his creation, blah blah blah. First, I don't see why that necessarily has to be the case.
Are you claiming that we do not know whether? Are you claiming that a creature may be more perfect than its creator?
No.
Abu,
you're much too complicated, Abu. You're much too complicated. It's much simpler than that. Muhammad, you believe that we exist, trees exist, the clouds exist. Where is everything coming from? If we do not create ourselves, what created it? Who created it? Therefore, there must be something which is more perfect than us, which is God, and this is the way that it works in the universe. This is the way that you are thinking. Is this correct? Yes or no?
Yes, creation. Listen,
okay,
if
fine.
it were,
Now the next thing, can I just ask a question?
If it were like rearrangement.
Okay, cool. Let's say there's a God. Let's say there's this God. Let's say there's this God. Let's say you're right. Yep, there's this God. How does this God manifest itself here on this planet?
Manifest itself? It is a creator. It creates absolutely everything.
Okay, how does it tell you about this?
Huh?
How do you know this? Where do you get this information?
Because everything around us is created.
How do you get this information?
How do I get this information? Which information? That God is the creator of everything.
Yes.
Because everything we see around us is originated.
Okay, why not Vishnu?
Why?
Why? Why not Vishnu?
Vishnu, the Hindu god?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Vishnu. Who is Vishnu? I really don't know who is Vishnu.
Why not Vishnu?
Zeus.
Well, who are those? Like, what are those? I don't really know.
Okay, Vishnu is a god.
Are you speaking like multiple gods?
No, I'm asking one. Okay, how many gods is Vishnu? Vishnu is one god.
Okay.
So why not Vishnu?
Why? Why
Not?
why not Vishnu?
Why not?
Why not
Vishnu?
Vishnu? Okay.
Why not King Kong?
Well, I don't really know who this Vishnu is. Maybe they have an idea of.
Okay, how do you know what Allah is?
I just told you. We know his attributes. We describe him.
How do you know the attributes?
What
Yes,
are
how
his
we know those
attributes?
We know them
What
through
are they?
rational arguments, rational methods, and through scriptural methods.
What is
That's
the
how we know.
scripture?
Huh?
What scripture?
I'll just read out a verse here.
No.
No.
You are talking about the Quran, right? This is the scripture that where you're getting all your information, the Quran.
Yes, of the Quran and the Bible and the.
So the Bible is more correct than the Quran. So Jesus is the God and creator.
No. There are truths in the Quran, and there are truths in the Bible.
Okay, so what is true in the Quran?
Quran, all those verses I believe are from God.
Okay, they're from God. So you're saying the Quran is from God because the Quran says it's from God.
I believe the Quran is from God because.
Why?
Where I rest my faith in. Why do I believe in the Quran? That's
Yes.
That's your question.
That's my
Yes.
question.
That's one question. Yes. Well, I believe in the Quran because I believe the reasons for believing in the Quran are compelling. That God, the Quran makes sense, and it's not it doesn't contradict. These verses are
Quran
not in
makes
contradiction.
What is the first sentence in the Quran in chapter? What is chapter 2, sentence 1? ALM. Can you tell me what the sense is behind ALM?
My friend, the reasons I believe in Islam is because I believe that Islam is far more superior than any other religion. So the reason I am a Muslim is because I believe in God. No, listen. I just tell you. I am a Muslim because I know God exists. And
no, you don't know that God exists. You believe that God exists because you believe in the Quran. But the Quran is completely wrong. There are so many mistakes in the Quran. It's amazing.
Well, why are you imposing your views on? I believe God exists through observing everything being dependent and originated. And so I conclude that there is a creator.
Muhammad, you believe that God exists because you're deluded.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and it's free. But don't come to me and say it's rational. Don't come to me, it's reasoning. Don't come to me and say because it's true. That is not the case.
I am dead certain about this, my friend.
Why? Now we're getting somewhere. Why are you dead certain about this if the Quran is so full of mistakes? Why the Quran makes absolutely no sense? And I've just asked you, what does ALM mean? What is the rationale behind ALM?
Let me just see this verse describing who God is. Okay.
ALM describes God.
Well, that's not. I don't know whether that's a description of God or not. I don't know what the meaning of that verse is.
You just told me that it's very rational and it makes perfect sense. Now I'm giving you one sentence, and suddenly you say you don't even know what it means. Why do you believe the Quran is right if you don't even understand it?
Well, I don't believe that the Quran. I don't believe that all of the Quran is. There are ambiguous verses in the Quran.
Which one? Give me one example.
The Quran is clear. Well, Alif Lam Mim. I don't know what it means.
So the Quran is not clear to you.
The Quran is clear. Not all of the Quran is clear to me, of course. But I know enough to know.
You don't understand the Quran, but yet you are going around and saying, I believe the Quran is from God, even though you don't understand it.
Well, let's go back to the main point. You're wasting time.
Let's go back to the main point. Let's stay exactly where we are now, because this is the center of where your belief comes from.
I just tell you, my friend, listen, stop. I rest my faith in the Quran because I believe God exists. And I believe that He communicated with, He sent messengers, and I believe that the reasons for the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam I find them to be convincing, and that very convincing and compelling. That
Which
it is
is what?
clear to
Raping
them.
of female slaves. That's convincing.
It is more than convincing. You know, you're speaking like a child. Actually, what has this got to do with anything? When you speak of a
Because
prophet,
your religion tells you how to rape slaves.
I'm not. You see, I'm not. You know, I don't view things as you view them. I believe that Muhammad was
obviously.
the most moral person that ever lived. You see, and
So
I know that.
I'm trying to help you. What you are doing is you're coming here to the Gin and Tonic show and you're saying, okay, guys, listen, I've got this brilliant argument here about this God, and I'm going to tell you about this argument, and I'm going to show you why this is a brilliant argument, and then all you are telling us is, I believe God.
You won't believe in anything else. You see, if you don't believe in God, you won't believe in the things that follow from that. But if you do believe in God, then you will look at the options in front of you. Where did God communicate with the world?
So I first need to believe that God exists before I can understand God.
Well, that's how all people usually.
That's not the way it works. No.
Well, that's your problem, you see, because when when the Prophet ﷺ spoke to the polytheists, he called them to God. He didn't call them to. That's the basic thing that he starts with. Why do you worship those stones when it is only God above you should worship?
Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad told the Sahaba to enjoy raping female slaves. Is that the kind of worshipping that you should be doing?
You are very silly. I don't. You see, I accept everything the Prophet ﷺ mentions, but it's not like you say it. It's not like you say it, and I'm not willing to take away to distract this, to go into that distraction.
It's not a distraction. It's a fact. There are several. Okay. There are dozens of authentic. Okay, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Okay, you talk.
Huh?
Well, you talk. You want to talk at the same time with me. It doesn't work. You talk. I'll keep quiet.
Okay. Now, Rob, I want to continue with the third.
That was not the idea. I want you to explain to me why you go and think that Muhammad is a role model today in the 21st century when he goes and propagates the raping of slaves.
No, if you are blind to the sun, my friend, you cannot. If you are blind to seeing the sun, I cannot help you.
Okay, I stand in for Rob. I don't know where he is. Give us the third point now.
I'm here.
Rob.
Why do you go to Rob? Why can't you make it?
Because he's the good cop.
Okay, Rob, listen to me, Rob. There was a video you once had. There was a discussion on the in Speaker's Corner you once had with I think it was what was his name, with Hamza.
What, Darren Hamza? Redbeard.
Yeah. And you said something like, I don't believe in God because it is rationally impossible for a God to. It is rationally impossible for anything to come into existence out of nothing.
No, that's not what I said. Let me clarify what I said or I say. Is that I see no good reason to believe that something can come from absolute nothing. I believe that absolute nothing, the philosophical term, is a concept that has no basis in reality. And unless you or anybody else can prove that it does, it's like a unicorn. We can talk about it, we can draw it, but there's no reason to believe it exists in actual reality. That's the same with absolute nothing.
Yes, you can totally be a Muslim while holding that view.
Okay, but I've explained to you. You put forward what you thought I'd said to Hamza. I've clarified what I've thought, what I would say to somebody. What now?
Yes. The point I want to make is that God is. When we speak of God as an all-powerful being, we believe that God is We believe that God is unrestricted in his power and that he is all powerful, you see. That he is independently powerful and unconditionally powerful. But that doesn't mean that his power includes rational impossibilities, you see. Are you aware of that?
What you really mean is, and what advanced theologians talk about, is God is maximally powerful. And maximally powerful means that he can do anything that is logically possible. In other words, God cannot make a squared circle or a married bachelor or a rock too heavy for him to lift. That's what you really mean, correct? So he can do anything.
The rational impossibilities are not things to begin with. Yes, that is my.
That's fine. That's what most advanced theists say. But that's not omniscient.
Yes.
That's not omnipotent.
Okay.
That's different from omnipotent, right?
Okay. Okay. So when you say, Rob, that God is when you say that God may not that creation ex nihilo is not, we haven't demonstrated it. Do you claim that it is rationally impossible, or do you claim that it is possible?
It depends on your theology. In your theology, it's rationally impossible, given the claims that you guys make about your God. Is if there was something called absolute nothing, and there was some way that you could bring a universe into existence in some other way, it would not be your theology. So I don't claim that it's rationally impossible under certain circumstances, but in your case, as a Muslim believing in Islam, it's impossible in your view.
Okay, can you explain more? Because
yes,
I don't
of course.
really.
I've been through this. I don't want to bore people. I'll make it very quick. You believe your God is infinite, eternal, and has always existed, correct?
Yes, yes.
And before the universe and anything else, God was all there was. There was nothing else, correct?
Before the universe, what?
Before the universe existed, before God brought the universe into existence, God was all there was. There was no other universes. There was nothing but God originally, correct?
Well, there is a difference of opinion about this. It's the opinion that God has always been creating one thing out of another.
Okay, but when you say he's creating something out of nothing, what you mean is he's creating something out of himself. You don't mean nothing.
No, there was, according to Ibn Taymiyyah, there was never a time when there was when God was not God was not creating one thing or another.
How does he know that?
Huh? Because what is it?
What's his argument for that?
His argument for that is a God who is constantly creating one thing out of another is more perfect than a God who is void of acts of creation. And
No.
he also argues,
Yeah, I disagree with that. That's now you're getting to claims about what the great making attributes are, and I dispute that. I say to you that a God that has always existed, and at a certain point in time suddenly decided to create the universe, is better than a God supposedly creating other things that we have no reason to believe actually exist in reality. So I dispute your great making property.
I believe that is what you claim is impossible. It's not rationally possible for God to have not been always a creator.
No, hang on. There's a difference. Now you're using the word creator to label him. You said originally that he was always creating stuff.
Yes.
Okay. What reason have we got to believe that he's always been creating stuff when all we know of is this universe, and supposedly from your book some angels, the pen, and the Qur'an in heaven?
Are you positing that God created the universe out of an eternal matter? Eternal pre-existing matter. That's what you're saying.
Okay, so my point is that the only rational argument, given what you guys believe, is that God created the universe and he is the source of the universe. In other words, the material of this universe came from God. It is part of God. Yes. There is no other option.
No. He has He brings things into existence. That is true.
Where does he get
We
the
observe
material? Muhammad, where does he get the material to bring these things into existence if he is all there was? He is the only thing that exists.
What do you mean by this material? Is it like matter?
The atoms, the quarks, the strings,
The
whatever.
atom,
Yeah.
Yes, he brings those things into existence by his will and power out of other things.
Thank you. So when you say out of other things, what you really mean is out of some version of himself, because there is nothing else.
No, because there was always one creature or another.
Okay, so God but then now you're saying that God is not maximally powerful because there's something that is not God and that has always existed that's not God.
No, because every specific creature has a beginning.
Did one of these other creatures, and who created these other creatures? God.
God.
Okay, and so God is the source of these other creatures, just like God is the source of the universe, correct?
Of course.
Okay, so then it's impossible for God to create something out of nothing, because God is the source of everything that's ever been created, and nothing about God you can say is nothing.
Well, yes,
So there's no part of God that you can label nothing.
Well, my point is that even if you maintain that this creation ex nihilo is impossible,
yes,
that wouldn't make God less powerful.
Well, it would make your claim that the universe is created from nothing a nonsense claim, which I think you seem to be understanding now as a nonsense claim. If you said to me, God created the universe, and the molecules of the universe come from God, I can accept that.
It was created out of other creatures. You get the point? Like before the universe was created, there was pre-existing matter, but none of that matter is eternal.
Okay, so now you're claiming that God created the universe from other creatures. Is that what you're claiming?
Yes.
And where did those other creatures come from?
From other creatures.
And where did those other creatures come from?
It's an infinite regress.
Okay,
but this is what I want.
Sure.
Okay, but now you're in the position where you are claiming Muhammad. Hang on a second, guys. Hang on a second. Muhammad, now you're in the position that you are claiming that there's an infinite regress. And whenever we speak to theists, you guys say to us, oh, no, atheists, you can't have this because an infinite regress means it's impossible that anything will ever be created. And now you are claiming an infinite regress.
No, you have to clarify the difference between two types of the regress. There is the infinite regress in creators and dependencies, and this is impossible. But there is also the infinite regress in effects and conditions, and that is not impossible. It can be even necessary in the case of God.
No, I'm not following. Listen,
okay, I'll say that.
This universe came into. Okay, you talk because we can't talk over each other.
Yes, Ibn Taymiyyah clarifies that the infinite regress in efficient causes, in creators, in dependencies is impossible. You get the point?
I understand the efficient and material causes, yes.
No, inefficient and inefficient causes, as in a creator or dependencies. Like one creature depends on another creature in its existence, and then that creature depends on another creature in its existence. It's maintained or created by another creature.
Are you saying that's possible or impossible?
That is impossible.
Okay, but just earlier on, when I asked you, where did the universe come from? Was it created from other creatures? You said yes. And you said that those creatures were created from other creatures and so on. And then you said there was an infinite regress.
Out of, not from, out of. That's what I mean. Out of other creatures, by God.
Let's just clarify something, because we're not going to get very far like this. Do you believe that at some, we're going to call it point in time, just because that's the only way we can talk rationally. Do you believe at some point in time that God was the only being in existence, or do you think that there's always been other beings in existence along with God?
I answered your question. There is a difference in opinion about this, according to a hadith. Some people take one hadith, one version of the hadith. Other people take another version. God was and nothing was before him is the correct version of the hadith. So we believe that God is the only eternal being, that nothing was before him. But that does not mean that there was a time when there wasn't a creature, one creature or another. This is my point.
Okay, but how do you demonstrate that that's true?
Because, okay, so now you're asking, what exactly are you asking now? Or how you demonstrate that?
I'm asking you the following. If you believe God is maximally powerful, is infinite and eternal,
Yes.
okay, then Occam's razor says to us that God being the initial being, let's call it, or the being that's always existed, must have been the first being. And at some point in time, just using the words that we understand, there was no other beings. God was all there was, unless you're claiming that there was something that has always existed and that's infinite, eternal, along with God. Because if God creates something, then by definition, there was a point. Hang on, Muhammad, wait. Muhammad.
Yeah.
If we go back in time, at some point, God would have created these creatures, unless you're saying one of these other creatures is uncreated, which I'm sure you're not going to say. So at some point, you're going to claim that God created the first creature. Before that moment, God was alone in all of reality, correct?
I don't believe that necessarily. I don't see any reason to believe that.
Well, you must do, because otherwise you're saying that God is not maximally powerful. You're saying there's another creature that existed timelessly.
No, that is not true. Why? Because I believe that only specific, particular things exist.
What exists timelessly, infinitely and eternally? What exists?
Only God. Only God exists.
There you go.
And he's not timeless. He's not timeless. He is eternal.
Okay, well, it's semantics.
Look, doesn't that contradict the nusus? If why, for example, we talked about that a lot last time. That before Allah created the universe, that He wrote down everything in Lawh al-Mahfuz. So doesn't, and also and if you want to bring something to existence, he has say kun fayakun. So isn't there many nusus that contradicts that Allah always created?
Okay. When you say that kun fayakun, he says to think be, and it says he said to Adam.
That's a bad point. But let's take the Lawh al-Mahfuz part instead.
Lawh al-Mahfuz.
Yes.
Lawh al-Mahfuz was written. God first created the pen, and then He said to it, write, and it wrote all the decrees to the day of judgment. Okay.
Yes.
But the hadith, the explanation, the way Ibn Taymiyyah explains it, he looks at it and he says, well, the hadiths clearly make it clear that God had created the throne before He created the pen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Both of those things were created, right? They didn't exist. They didn't exist eternally or infinitely, right?
Nothing exists eternally except God. Everything is created.
Okay, everything Muhammad, is. The moment you say that, then you are contradicting what you said before.
Why is
about
that?
Other creatures? Because at some point, that other creatures must terminate. At some point, if everything else that's been created must terminate at a point where God created them. Otherwise, they all exist eternally, or something other than God exists eternally.
Terminate like are created out of nothing.
So, no, well, that's not possible because God is all there was, and He's omnipotent or maximally powerful. So there is no such thing as nothing.
But I don't believe in that, because I believe that you see there is a difference between saying that the genus of the world is eternal and saying that a specific world is eternal. The genus is eternal, but it is a mental construct. That's my point. Only the specific things exist. A particular universe exists. This particular man, this particular tree, particular things exist outside the mind. That's my point. You get the point?
Okay, but what is the point about that? Yes, I accept that things out there exist and we give them a label. They still exist in
Yeah.
ultimate reality. So what?
Yes, the point is, why do you reject? Why do you not believe in an in an all-powerful creator when there is no rational opposition? It makes perfect sense.
Because it's not the most reasonable position. A, we don't know if the universe began to exist or not. But even if it had a beginning, there are other naturalistic proposals out there that don't require a God. So why would I believe in a supernatural entity that I've never been demonstrated to even supposed to exist, when I've got naturalistic hypotheses out there that are based on quantum mechanics, general relativity, a whole lot of calculations that are possible? Why would I go to something that is supernatural when we've got potentially natural solutions
What do you mean
or
by
hypotheses?
supernatural? What do you mean by supernatural? Because I don't believe
A
this
being that
supernatural.
exists outside of this universe.
What do you mean by the universe?
Our local universe, the boundaries of our local universe, which is seemingly ever expanding.
Space and time and matter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes? Yes. Well, we don't
Yeah.
claim that space and time, Ibn Taymiyyah, because I'm saying Ibn Taymiyyah a lot because I believe he was very powerful in rooting the orthodox position that was understood by the early Muslims. You see, he defended it very well.
Yeah, but Muhammad,
we don't believe.
Muhammad, yes, Muhammad.
Just let me just clarify this, please.
Muhammad.
We don't. Yes.
Going back to Ibn Taymiyyah, I don't think is a useful argument, because Ibn Taymiyyah existed in a time when we didn't understand, when he didn't know that general relativity, quantum mechanics, what we've learned about the universe and everything else existed. So going back to 7th century people or 7 centuries ago is not useful today.
No, he believed he had some idea about relativity, but his understanding of space and time is far more rational. Yes, he did. He understood that distances are relative to observers, but he didn't understand it from a scientific perspective, of course. But he was well versed in the rational methods. Like when he spoke about space and time, he spoke far better than Newton, for example.
He spoke better than Newton. Well, how about Einstein, or anybody else, or any of the people today that we've tested and we understand their theories?
He understood that causes, for example, I'll just give you this example. He understood that causality is not instantaneous. It cannot possibly be instantaneous, for example. But that's beside the point. I just want to clarify.
Well,
this
some advanced. Yes, it is beside the point. Yes,
I just want to clarify that the way Ibn Taymiyyah viewed God is not a way in which many Kalam theologians propose it. He did not believe in a timeless or spaceless being, you see, who created the universe.
Sure.
He believed that. Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm listening to you. Yes.
Yes, because he understood.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, he understood that if anything which is deemed spaceless, nothing may be spaceless and timeless in the sense that it cannot be. You cannot direct your hands towards it. You cannot observe it. You cannot detect it. Nothing is like that.
Well, William Lane Craig seems to disagree, and he's one of the foremost theologians in the world. So
yes,
who do we accept? Somebody lived 7 centuries ago, or one of the leading Christian theologians in the world today, who claims that God is timeless and immaterial and is an unembodied mind?
The Christians, there is a very you know, the Muslims in their early days, I'm speaking about the days like 200 years after the Prophet, they when they came into contact with the Christians, they didn't. The Christians were actually believing in a God above the heavens. You see, they did not believe in a spaceless, timeless God, and actually, I don't want to say a spaceless, timeless God was actually people who believed in. If you look at the scholars, the early scholars of Islam, they believe that a person who claims that God is not above the heavens, they would consider him to be falling into a great error in his conceptualization, in his concept of who God is. You see. So
yeah, Muhammad, I'm not sure we're getting anywhere. We're bouncing around all over the show here.
Since
So I'm
I've
not sure
studied
where
these
we're
things,
supposed to
I
go.
know
I've
what
shown
is.
you that it's impossible for your God. We can't all talk. Do you want to speak, Abu?
No, since I've studied these things, I know what he is talking about, and there are differences between William Lane Craig and Ibn Taymiyyah, but the problem is I don't think you solve it. Yes, God is above the creation, whatever that means, and he is above the throne. But can you from that deduce that he is inside space and time?
Yes, this is the point I'm making. Space and time, they have no tangible existence. They're only how Ibn Taymiyyah defines space and time is very different from how the physicists define space and time. That's my point.
Okay, but then we're talking about different things because space and time are very tangible in modern physics.
They're not you see, if you're speaking about relativity, you know, the measurements, the lengths, when you say lengths contract, for example, as according to different observer, like length contracts for some observer and it is not contracted for another observer. There is nothing here, there is no space here literally contracting, you see. All there is a relative length, a relative measurement, you see. So
yeah, but a heavy object bends space and time. We can see that because we can make, for example, gravitational lenses.
Yes, but according to different observers, they will view that differently, wouldn't they?
Yes, but that's the same thing. It's like say that if one person is wearing glasses and another person is not wearing glasses, then of course they're going to view what they see differently. But that's because the glasses bend the light. And in the same way, if you're looking at the stars behind a very heavy black hole, you're going to see a gravitational lens that bend the light. But if you stand some other place and not looking through that lens, then you're going to view them in a more straight way. But space and time.
What's the point here, though? What's the point here? Because I'm not sure where we're going now.
I think by saying that God exists inside space and time, I don't think you can say that because Laysa kamithlihi shay. You can't say that.
No. You're missing the point. I'm saying that space and time. When you say that God is in space and time, you know that is a meaningless statement because space and time, as defined by the physicists, they have no tangible existence. They're not really out there. See, all that exists.
No, the opposite. Maybe they are really out there. Space and time really is out there, and it's a very tangible thing. It's kind of counterintuitive, but we can prove it.
Have you detected it?
Oh yeah, we have detected it every day. Do you have a GPS in your phone, for example?
Well, recall what I said. Only particular things exist.
Okay, but the particular thing, your GPS in your phone, would not work if, like, the laws of relativity wasn't there. Heavy objects really do bend space-time.
Lengths, I understand that there are spatial relationships between objects. You see? But
Yes,
those
but
relationships
also
Okay.
heavy, massive objects like the Earth bend
Mm.
space-time. If the kind of algorithms that your GPS runs on would not work, or they have to be fine-tuned to like correct for. If space had only been the kind of stage that Newton view it, then the algorithms would be written in another way. Okay, but the algorithms has to adjust for the time going slower and faster and so on, depending on if they're massive objects.
Yes, but this doesn't show that. I understand. You're saying that time dilates and length contract. Yes, but where is there anything tangible out there? You see, which is an infinitely extended, perhaps spatial coordinates. No, there is nothing really out there. You see my point?
No, if there were, okay, I don't know if I were to go into this, but yes, there is something there, because if it wasn't anything tangible, it couldn't bend light as it does.
But isn't it the mass which bends the light? It warps.
Yes. It bends space-time so that light that go through it bends.
Yes, but there is a mass. If the mass is not there,
yes, then it will not be bent. But the point is the massive object bends it.
Yes, but these are like
but
relative.
If it was nothing, it would not be able to bend it.
What is the mass of Allah?
What is it?
What is the mass of Allah? Can Allah bend light?
Allah is far greater than you, my friend.
Come on, guys. We're
He is
talking
far
nonsense
greater than
here.
you.
I mean, we're going off on 15 different tangents. We're not really talking about the real topic that we are here to discuss. We're talking about GPS and all sorts of bullshit, but we're not really talking about what it is why are you convinced there is a God? I'm sure it's not the mass and the GPS equations.
It's not the mass equations. It's simple observations. Alhamdulillah, I'm on the fitrah, inshallah.
Look, I understand that
better than you.
all this makes a lot of sense for you, and in a way I have a sympathy for it, because I used to think like that, and I read Ibn Taymiyyah, and I think it's
Don't tell me, the time is between us. After a while, we will see which of us is really should be felt sympathy for.
Yeah, sure. But I have a bit of I think I admire his. I think Ibn Taymiyyah was an intelligent dude, and
you're going off again, Abu.
Okay,
you're starting to talk about something completely different again.
Okay, sorry.
What would it take to change your mind, Mohammed?
Well, what would it take to change my mind? Well, I don't see it as to change my mind is all in the hands of God. Okay, it's not something. If I believe that if I did change my mind, I would not do that because of any rational arguments, but because of being evil, for example. And I pray that God protects me from that.
So there is nothing that will change your mind that is rational. You need to go through some sort of brainwashing exercise before you change your mind.
Can't you see how that is circular? Because then you can just say, okay, I'm not going to change my mind because of anything that is rational. If I change my mind, it's because I'm evil. That's circular. There's nothing. There's no proof that could change your mind.
I left the rational argument. No, I'm saying that if I left the truth, which I know now, that would only be because I have turned my back to what I already know with certainty.
Yeah, we know that your belief about fitra and everything, but can't you see that it's circular? That there's nothing we can show you that would possibly change your mind. Unless you're evil.
Well, you bring something, for example, like an eternal. What do you posit? Do you posit? Are you saying that we are eternal, for example?
No,
no,
now we're going off again. No, please.
Sorry.
Look, it's very simple. You want to talk endlessly about your God. We believe that you really believe that there's a God. You really believe that. I understand that. We all understand that. The question that is something that, or what we are trying to understand, this is the question we're trying to ask you, is why? And you are not answering that question. You're talking about all sorts of things, but not why do you need this God in your life? This is something that I don't understand. Do you think your God created cancer? Do you think it's okay to make... Can I finish asking the question? Do you think it's okay for animals to suffer? Do you think a God, a really merciful God, will allow a wasp to lay an egg in an animal's eye just to get to eat this thing inside out and cause immense suffering for this poor animal? Is that what your God really wants to do?
I believe he is a merciful God, yes.
But, so you think that eating an animal inside out, starting with the eye and then eating the brain and causing immense suffering for the animal, this is merciful?
No. I believe that God is merciful. He is the most merciful, but he is also wise and just.
Okay, so he 105 times in the Quran, it says that I'm going to go to hell. Where is the mercy in that?
Going to hell? Like, if you reject God, if you reject this basic, clear signs, which God makes clear to you, what else do you expect? Why are you being ungrateful to God? That's the question.
Because he's merciful. You said he's merciful.
He is merciful, and the proof for that.
Why should I be? Why should I be obedient? Why should I do any of that if he's merciful?
Why should you be obedient if he is merciful? To thank him, to be grateful. What do you mean?
If God is merciful, I don't need to be obedient.
No, God is also just, and he is.
You can't be both. You can't be just and merciful.
Yes, you can be just and strong in his punishment.
You can't. Then it's not merciful.
Yes. Yeah, because he is merciful. He is merciful to you.
Yeah, but then he can't be just.
If he decrees that you choose to do evil, then why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he punish you for the evil?
He created me evil.
Huh?
He created me evil.
Yeah, he created you evil in the sense that he created your decisions and actions to do evil.
Exactly. And then he punishes me for his incompetence.
No, it is because you chose. You see, we don't believe that, we believe that God is the author of all things that happens in the universe.
Exactly, so I don't have a choice.
No, you have a choice, but that choice is determined.
Hang on, if it's determined, it's not a choice, is it?
No, it is a choice which is determined.
If I go into a shop and I ask for vanilla ice cream, and God knew that I'm going to have vanilla ice cream, can I change my mind?
God would have chosen that you choose to buy that.
Okay, can I change my mind and get chocolate?
What do you mean change your mind? Of course, you are able, you have decisions and actions.
Then God doesn't know what I'm going to do.
No, you're missing the point. God creates your decisions and actions. Those are real decisions. You see, and this is another issue. But
I think you are missing the point, because if I have a real choice, then God doesn't know what I'm going to do. If God knows what I'm going to do, I don't have a choice.
Yeah, Muhammad, it's a contradiction.
Okay, Mohammed, we're not getting anywhere. As soon as we start talking, as soon as we try and ask questions to understand, and you're talking and talking, as soon as I want to try and find out what it is that you are thinking and why you are thinking this, You are sidestepping and starting to waffle about all sorts of things. You don't understand the basic about logics. You don't understand the basics about rational thinking, and yet you are using these words continuously. You have no clue
No,
why
I am.
you are using
I
it
am-
all the time. Why?
My friend, why are you being? I believe that you are being irrational, because the way I see it is that we have decisions. You see, we cannot deny that we have decisions. Do you deny that you have decisions?
I don't. You do.
Do you believe that you have decisions?
You see, again, why should I believe that I have decisions? I don't believe that this God exists. So why are you asking me questions about your God?
My decisions, that would be very irrational. You see, decisions are real. You see, we really decide to do what we do. But God is the one who is creating all of that. There is a difference between my
just
action
contradicted
and
yourself.
God's act of creating that action.
You've just
No,
contradicted yourself. Yes.
That's not contradiction. That's not contradiction, because
Contradiction.
we are. Why is it a contradiction? Go ahead.
Because you can't choose a vanilla ice cream and then go change your mind and have chocolate ice cream if your God knows that you're going to have vanilla ice cream.
If you choose to pray, you see, that would be because God has predetermined that you would choose to pray.
Exactly. It's predetermined. So I cannot choose anything else. I cannot choose chocolate if it's predetermined that I use vanilla. Do you see what I mean? You are not rational.
No. If you choose to pray, that would be because you chose to pray in line with God's determination.
To be fair, there are two things. This guy is actually better than the guy that this Kenny guy, because this guy is honest.
At least he understands what he believes.
And he knows more about these things. But to be fair, I mean, this is the same kind of argument that like compatibilists say. They say like, yeah, the laws of physics determines you to do that, but pragmatically you're also free to do it or free to not to do it. So it's the same.
There is no such thing as free will, my friend Steve.
Yes,
there is no such thing as free will.
I agree. I don't believe in free will.
Yes. There is will, there is decision and will, and those things are predetermined. But the fact that you will and decide means that you should be held responsible. And it's not a problem because you chose.
No, Muhammad.
We are again going off on a tangent. What does this have to do with the God? Tell me what this has to do with the God. How does that prove God?
Well, if you believe that God is the creator of everything, then you shouldn't limit God's power. You see?
But I don't believe it. I don't believe the claims made by theists.
Yes, I listened to one of Rob's conversations. He said this. He said there's a contradiction between God's will and his
yes,
God's power and our
yes.
Yes, I don't
very
believe.
Clear. It's very clear, Muhammad. No,
I don't believe
but
that
it is clear, even if you don't believe it. Well,
okay, we can't.
You can't have, if you don't have free will.
It's not clear to me.
If we don't have free will,
God.
then
If you
the
believe
idea
free
of
will, what does it do to your God? Nothing. This can't be the reason.
What is it?
Okay, but Stops, he said he doesn't believe in free will, which is a huge problem.
Okay, but
no, there is no problem.
Either which way, it doesn't get any closer.
Willing being. We believe in will. What do you mean by free will? From what I understand it, from how I understand it, free will means an uncaused will. Isn't that right?
Okay, how does that relate to your God?
Well, God is the determiner of everything.
Okay, great. This is your belief. You have failed to demonstrate it, so I reject your premise.
What is it?
I reject your premise.
I didn't hear anything actually.
Okay, Mohammed, I don't think we're going to get any further tonight. Maybe you and I can have a hangout, a private hangout at some point. But I don't think we've progressed very far here at the moment. So, maybe you want to speak to me separately, but I don't feel like we've got very far here at all.
That's
But
okay.
hang on, Mohammed, do you believe you have made any profound claim here today?
No, actually, I believe that you are, if you do not repent to God, my friend, you will be humiliated and saddened in the next. So, I really believe that you should
There you go. Oh,
consider your
after 1.5 hours, this is the summary. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Sorry.
I will repent. I will get on my knees and bang my forehead on the floor.
You know, funny how people, when people, have to turn to others and they understand things. SubhanAllah, there are people who are deaf and blind. They don't understand the basics. But, this will, I don't know what will take to change this.
Explain the
but,
basics. I wanted you to explain the basics. You did not do that.
Well, I told you, my friend. What did you not understand?
I didn't understand anything that you said. All you are saying is, I believe God exists. Okay, I know that you believe that God exists, but you don't give me why.
Didn't you understand that God creates one thing out of another? Didn't you understand
This is another assertion. All you do is assert things.
Why is that assertions? I proved my point, I believe.
No, you have not. Oh, come on, please. All you are saying is there's creation, something begins to exist, and nothing that you say has been demonstrated.
No, stop. So what do you expect from a God anyway? What do you expect?
I expect a God to be bloody perfect.
Do you expect him to make things difficult for people, you see, and so that they misunderstand and go astray? No.
Well, the number one thing is I expect a God not to hide from me just because he's scared of me.
He is not hiding. He is you see his actions everywhere. But you are blind to that. I can't really help you see.
I know. When my bowling ball doesn't hit the sweet spot, it's God pushing the bowling ball to the side. Is that what you're saying?
No, God is the author of everything in existence, my friend.
Okay, that's an assertion. That's presuppositionalism at its best. Do you know what presuppositionalism is?
Oh, fine. The days are between us, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mohammed, you've made some claims here, but you haven't backed them up, and none of the things that we believe have in any way, from our point of view, been challenged in any significant way. So, maybe, as I say, maybe we can have a hangout separately at some point. But I think for tonight's show, I think that's as far as we can go. So I'm happy to you've got my details. We can talk one time. But I don't think we're going to get any further here tonight. But I do want to thank you for coming on. At least you've at least come on and attempted to have a conversation. But I don't feel like we've progressed. We've gone in all kinds of different directions. Different people are asking you different questions, and we're kind of all over the show. But I have to agree with my colleagues. You haven't sort of given anything substantive from my point of view.
Rob, I'm not really used to this kind of these kind of discussions.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But if we maybe perhaps we can have something we can understand better if we we can have a better dialogue if it were just two people speaking together. I think that's better.
Yeah,
okay,
that's possible.
Thing I want to mention, Rob, I want to mention one thing. Mohammed, can I just mention one thing? You know very well what you are believing. You just don't know why. But let me tell you that you are, I think, the first Muslim who has been on the Jinn&Tonic show who has been able to articulate their belief in a convincing way. So this is one thing I have to give you. Absolutely. This is something that you did very well. The rest, okay, this is, you can still improve on that, but at least this point is well done.
Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, my friend. Thank you for coming on. As I say, you've got me on Facebook, so catch up with me again. I think we're going to bring the show to a close unless anybody else in the panel has anything to say, but I think we're getting on a little bit now. So I think we'll bring the show to a close. Thank you for coming on, and I'm sure we'll have a chat again at some point.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good night to you. Thank you.
Back to
Abu.
Mohammed.
Oh, Abu's not here, is he?
No,
Yes, he is there. There's
Steve wanted to say something.
Hadith of the evening. Oh,
No,
Steve,
I'm
you
just
want
saying thank you to Mohammed because I think he did behave himself.
Yeah, he tried to articulate the points, and I think, from my point of view, he didn't bring anything substantive at all. And appealing to Ibn Taymiyyah, with what we know about physics and cosmology and so forth, I don't think it's particularly helpful. These people didn't understand the workings of the universe and so forth. And all the best they've got is philosophical arguments. They don't have anything on the scientific point of view. And I don't find that convincing in the least. So, but we can do it again at some point. But I think in future we need to decide if it stops or Abu or whoever. That's fine. Let's not give it half an hour for each person, because otherwise each of us, and Steve can go in as well, each person tries to have a conversation. Otherwise it goes all over the show, and each person just brings up their own things. So maybe that's a way we can do it in future. Decide who's going to have a conversation first and let that person have a go. But good. Alrighty. Anything else to add, or we pretty much done?
I remember we tried that a couple of years ago. That never worked.
Did we? Okay.
I think. Yeah.
All right, Abby.
I actually want to say
for
that
it.
although this was probably one of the better Muslims in a way, because this was a Muslim that knew his stuff and he was well read and so
Exactly.
on.
Yeah.
And so although I was laughing and all those things, it might sound weird, but this was probably one of the smarter Muslims in a way, or knowledgeable Muslims, I could tell. But maybe we need some new framework to be able to talk to them. Okay, narrated Umar ibn al-Khattab. I heard Hisham ibn Hakim ibn Hazim reciting Surah Al-Furqan in a way different that of mine. Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had taught it to me in a different way. So I was about to quarrel with him during the prayer, but I waited till he finished. Then I tied his garment round his neck and seized him by it and brought him to Allah's Messenger and said, I have heard him reciting Surah Al-Furqan in a way different to the way you taught it to me. The Prophet ordered me to release him and asked Hisham to recite it. When he recited it, Allah's Apostle said, it was revealed in this way. He then asked me to recite it. When I recited it, he said, it was revealed in this way. The Quran has been revealed in 7 different ways. So recite it in the way that is easier for you.
Do what you want. Oh boy.
Yeah. Brilliant. Abu, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody on the panel. Oh, have I? No, I haven't. There we go. Thanks, Stop, Steve, Abu. Hopefully we will all be back, or some of us will be back at least next Friday. We'll come up with a topic then. If you in the chat, or if you're a viewer and you'd like us to discuss a particular topic, get in touch with one. We can look into doing that. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to all the viewers, to everybody in the chat, and to my fellow co-panelists. And we'll bid you a good night until next Friday. Thanks a lot, guys, and good night to you all.
Good
And
night.
Saturday, hopefully, it's going to be with Kenny from Texas.
What date is that?
23rd.
Remind us the date.
23rd.
23rd.
Saturday, the 23rd.
So on Friday, the 22nd, we'll make a big deal of it to remind everybody as well. So a couple of, put that date in your diary, Saturday, the 23rd.
And keep your fingers crossed that
Alrighty, thank you.
going to come around.
Yep, let's hope so. Alrighty,
Bye.
guys. Thanks so much. Take care and good night.
Good night.